There was a realization that hit me today so hard it stopped me in my tracks. God doesn't need me. God lets me. And somehow, that is infinitely more beautiful. Because if I look at my life honestly, every gift I have ever been proud of isn't really mine in the way I once thought it was. When I create something beautiful, when an idea arrives out of nowhere, when words flow together in a way that moves people, I catch myself thinking, wow, look how creative I am. But then I stop and think, where did creativity come from? Who designed a brain capable of imagination? Who created color, music, emotion, storytelling, symbolism, wonder, curiosity, and inspiration itself? Who built a universe so breathtaking that it constantly gives artists something to paint, write, sing, photograph, and dream about? Suddenly, my creativity doesn't feel like a trophy. It feels like an invitation to participate in something far bigger than myself. The same is true for the athlete, the swimmer who slices through the water with strength and endurance, the runner who hits that terrible mental wall at mile 10 and somehow finds the courage to keep going, the weightlifter who pushes through pain, the musician who hears melodies, the teacher who inspires, the mother who nurtures, the father who protects, the scientist who discovers, the builder who creates, the healer who comforts. Every single one of us has moments where we stand back and say, look what I accomplished. And there is nothing wrong with being proud of hard work. But beneath that accomplishment sits a deeper truth. The lungs were given. The body was given. The mind was given. The opportunity was given. The talent was given. The breath itself was given. Everything begins as a gift. And what overwhelms me is that God could do everything without us. Everything. He could create without artists, heal without doctors, teach without teachers, build without builders, lead without leaders, speak without preachers. He could accomplish every purpose in an instant. Yet he chooses participation. Just like a mother baking cookies. She doesn't hand a wooden spoon to a 4-year-old because she needs help. Let's be honest, that child is making the process slower, messier, more complicated. Flour ends up on the floor. Sugar ends up on the counter. Half the ingredients somehow disappear. The cookies take twice as long. But the mother isn't thinking about efficiency. She's thinking about relationship. She's thinking about joy. She's thinking about creating memories. She wants her daughter to participate. Not because she's needed, because she's loved. And suddenly I wonder if that's how God sees us. Not as employees, not as tools, not as machines producing results, but as beloved children standing on tiptoes in a kitchen too big for them, holding a wooden spoon and helping Dad make something beautiful. And then I think about fathers teaching children to ride bicycles. Every parent knows what's coming. The scraped knees, the tears, the frustration, the wobbling, the fear, the falls. The parent doesn't want the child to suffer. The parent simply understands something the child cannot yet understand. Growth requires experience. Strength requires resistance. Balance requires wobbling. Confidence requires failure. The father runs beside the bike knowing full well the child is going to fall. Not because he enjoys watching pain, because he can already see the version of that child who will one day ride freely. The child sees the scraped knee. The father sees the future. The child sees the fall. The father sees the growth. The child sees the pain. The father sees the lesson. And maybe that's where many of us are with God. We experience heartbreak and wonder where he is. We experience failure and wonder why he allowed it. We experience disappointment and wonder why he didn't stop it. But maybe God sees farther than we do. Maybe he sees the finished painting while we're staring at a single brushstroke. Maybe he sees the completed story while we're stuck in one painful chapter. Maybe he sees the rider while we're still the child with training wheels. And maybe his love is not proven by removing every obstacle. Maybe his love is proven by never leaving our side while we learn to overcome them. The older I get, the more I realize that life isn't about proving how amazing I am. It's about marveling at how generous God is, because he lets me create. He lets me love. He lets me learn. He lets me serve. He lets me dream. He lets me fail. He lets me get back up. He lets me participate in a story that existed long before I arrived and will continue long after I'm gone. The greatest miracle isn't that God needs my contribution. The greatest miracle is that he invites it. Out of billions of people across thousands of years, he looks at each of us and says, come here, help me with this. Not because he lacks power, not because he lacks ability, not because he lacks options, but because love shares. Love includes, love teaches, love invites, and suddenly every talent looks different. Every accomplishment looks different. Every victory looks different. The creativity, the strength, the intelligence, the endurance, the wisdom, the courage. None of it becomes smaller. It becomes more sacred because it stops being a monument to ourselves and becomes evidence of a God who delights in letting his children participate in his glory. God doesn't need me. God lets me. And somehow that realization doesn't make me feel insignificant.